Started? Fine. Okay, good morning everyone. We will start with the startup. What is startup? Students. They come up with some idea and they start their business. Most of the businesses nowadays are developed by the students, those who are studying in the college or recently passed out from the college. For example, Ola cabs, Uber cabs, Zomato, right? Swiggy. What are all those things? Those are startups. Byju's. There are different apps they developed by them and different techniques. They identified the problem which is existing in the market, and what they did, they provided the solution. If someone would have think before 5 years or 10 years, who will use the Zomato service or Ola or Uber cabs? But nowadays all the metro cities are using these services, right? Similarly, there were students, those who developed various platforms for social media. Who developed Facebook? Is it developed by any company or students? It was a product developed by students as a project. Are you getting this? So what you want to do? What is entrepreneurship? If you want to have your own business, what will you do? You will first generate the idea where problem exists in the society, right? What is need of society? Do they need entertainment? Do they need some medical services? Do they need some traveling services, right? And you provide an engineering solution for that. Most of the big inventions are developed for market by the group of startups. Similarly, Intel was a startup, but it is not the startup of recent time. The fashion of startup is quite older than we imagine. In 1968, 3 people started the company called Intel. Now, is there anyone on this planet Earth who don't know the word Intel? Almost everyone who uses laptop or computer knows the word Intel. What is Intel? Intel is Insight. How they add it? Intel Insight. On laptops there will be a sticker. What is written on that? Intel Insight. What does that mean? The processor inside our laptop or computer is developed by the company called as Intel, right? So your assignment will be, today's assignment, you have to go through the history of Intel, right? After going home, and you have to study who developed it, right? What are the steps they have taken? What do? They develop mainly the microprocessors and microcontrollers. That is our subject. They are the most mass producing company which produces the processors and controllers. Then like other companies are there, Dell, Acer, Motorola. These other companies, they assemble the laptops by using the processor provided by the Intel. Processor is brain of the system, right? What we say in a computer, who is the brain of computer? CPU. What is long form of CPU? Central Processing Unit, right? That processing unit is processed by the processor. So we have 2 parts. So in today's session we will differentiate between the microprocessors and microcontrollers, and we will see the brief history, right? So before moving to the subject, we should know what is the meaning of subject, then why I am studying it, then our action plan will be easy. Any subject, if we take interest in the beginning itself, it becomes easy for us. And microprocessor and controller is very interesting field. You can have most of the projects by using embedded system in next year. So this subject is very important while dealing with the projects. We will have the concept, we will study how these processors are working, how the programming of this processor is done, what is interfacing. All those things we will study in this subject. So unlike last semester subject, in EMTL we had lot of equations and lot of imagination was involved. This subject is quite opposite. We don't have equations in this, right? We don't have to imagine a wave inside space or traveling in space. We have very clear-cut diagram, we have very clear-cut concept, and most important, we are studying the back-end process of the most used gadget. Nowadays, most used gadget on earth is mobile phone. Everyone have average 1 to 2 mobile phones. Many people have more than one mobile phone, right? Yes or no? That means all of us are using or carrying one processor or one controller along with us, because mobile phones are also using a processor inside, right? So what is our task now? In today's session we will have we'll study difference between microprocessors and second one is microcontroller. So second one is microcontrollers, right? So we have a processor and a controller. So we'll start with the processor. We'll have one CPU connected with all input and output devices, right? So we'll have one CPU. What we say, CPU is the brain of any computer. And what is inside? Intel is inside. That means there is a motherboard inside a CPU box. There will be switch buttons, restart buttons, right? There will be space for USB. So what he is doing from here, he is communicating with the memory. If you are connecting a memory card, your system is communicating with the data inside the processor. And who is doing that? Inside there is a chip that is called as microprocessor. And short form, for this micro, what is symbol of micro? Like a mu. In short form we can write it as mu p. That means microprocessor. So if we are writing mu p for microprocessor, what can we write for microcontroller? Mu c. That is the short form for microcontroller. So we have microprocessor and we have microcontroller. Now microcontroller is also a chip. All of you must have seen the chip. It will have legs to mount on the board. It may be a PCB or breadboard. On breadboard you have connected IC, right? IC will have fixed number of pins. What is there in IC? All ICs will have fixed number of pins connecting on the breadboard or printed circuit board, that is PCB, or motherboard. Inside a computer we call it as motherboard. Okay, so that processor is nothing but an integrated circuit. What is this? This processor is a chip. What is the long form of IC? Integrated circuit. Now we'll see the relation between them also. So now this is a CPU. The CPU will have a microprocessor. On this board there will be space for RAM, then there will be ROM, and external connections for input and output devices will be there. What are the output devices? There may be a CPU along with a monitor, a keyboard, a mouse. Yes, these are all externally connected input and output devices. So what is microprocessor? Microprocessor is a very strong chip, but it does not contain RAM and ROM inside itself. What we have to remember about microprocessor, it is a chip, it is a very strong chip, but the RAM, ROM, I/O ports, that is input output ports, timers and other peripherals are connected externally. But for microcontroller is not as advanced as processor. Processor will have multitasking. Microcontroller will work for a specific given task. It will have inbuilt memory. There won't be any separate memory card. In memory there may be RAM, ROM. It will have input output peripherals internally connected with the processor. It will also have the timer connected internally, right? So everything is inbuilt. For processor, the IC is connected separately with the memories, RAMs and ROMs. We can have different size of RAM. We can have different size of ROM. But in microprocessor, there will be fixed amount. So now, tell me who will have more clock cycle or more capacity based on our discussion? Who will have more capacity to work? Microprocessors. Microprocessor speed, clock speed. If you purchase a mobile phone or laptop, it will give the speed. It works on 1 gigahertz clocks. Right? While specification, if you read on internet, say processors normally work on say 1 gigahertz clock cycle, whereas controllers work on around 200 megabyte clock cycle. Of course, these are having very strong processor. They have a less. Why less? Because we are making them for a specific target. What are the main applications of these microcontrollers? Where we use them? We can use them in small. You check the screen. Small scale, say mobile phones. Then second, household applications like washing machine. We may use them for ACs. Then we may use them for microwave oven. Right? What are these applications? These are fixed applications. Only a specific task they have to do. Washing machine controller means what you have to control. What are the steps in washing machines? I think girls can tell the steps properly. First, it should rinse, right? The rotation should be there. Next, before that, drain should be there, I think. Drain, water should, after cleaning, water should drain out. Then, drying. These are fixed steps. 3 to 4 steps are fixed. So, what you will do, you will make a program to control the process of washing machine. For that, you need not go for costly microprocessor. You can do it with small microcontroller because it requires less memory. With small memory, small application, we can use a small processor. It is nothing but a microcontroller. Are you getting it? AC will have fixed steps of operation. How much temperature is there? How much temperature is set by you, right? And other functions set by you. So he should keep on doing that work. So for this task, we need not invest in a microprocessor. What we will do? We will use a microcontroller, right? So small scale projects, those are termed as embedded system projects. Embedded system is another subject. you will study in next year. So what is there in embedded system? By using a controller, you will study how to embed them with other elements which are required to make a project, right? That is nothing but an embedded system. So for embedded system also we can have separate microcontroller. There are various types of microcontrollers. How these microcontrollers are classified? We may have 8-bit microcontroller, we may have 16-bit, 32-bit, like that. Similarly, processors will also have the bit capacity. How many number of bits per second can be processed by the controller or processor, right? Are you getting it? Now we will see what is the connection between the microprocessor and the integrated circuit. There is one more subject called as VLSI. What is long form of VLSI? Yes, very large scale integrated circuit. So in short form we call them as integrated circuit, ICs. So Intel, I gave you one task to find out the founders. There were 3 founders. 3 founders means only 3 people started this company. Now this is among the world's largest company, Intel. One of the founding member was Moore, M-O-O-R-E, Moore. And there is one Moore's law frequently used in the VLSI. What he stated, it is a simple statement based on his experience in the semiconducting industry. What he said that the number of transistors on a single chip will double after every 2 years, right? In 1 to 2 years, the number of transistors on a chip will double itself. That means the technology will advance in such a way that we will get more number of transistors on a single chip. Earlier also we had discussed it. What is the difference between earlier systems and the present age systems? Earlier, if we take example of the computer monitor or television, we had the big televisions with picture tube, right? Now we have flat and slim televisions and computer monitors. Why it is possible? Because of the IC technology which is boomed. It comes under VLSI, very large scale. Means what? We are able to mount millions of transistors on a small chip. This chip may be like a small size if you compare with this piece of chalk, right? A small chip. It will have millions of transistors, and those millions of transistors are replacing the vacuum tube. They are doing the work of vacuum tube. As the number of transistors are increasing, the speed of processor is also increasing. This IC is nothing but a processor. Processor is, all processors are ICs, but all ICs are not processor. It may be microcontroller, it may be application specific integrated circuit, or it may be DSP processors. DSP is another subject. It is digital signal processing. Digital signal processing processors are also there. We may have various equipments, applications in military or medical field, where a specific task is to be done, but that task is very important and very large scale, which cannot be done by microcontroller. So what we do? We can develop application specific integrated circuit. Those are called as ASIC. There is IC, so there may be application specific integrated circuit, like we want to use in medical field for medical imaging, or in military field where important applications, sensitive applications, security based applications are there, where we require very powerful machine, very powerful processor, but it is not like usual laptop or computer. They have different application, maybe related to radar, right? Maybe related to some other tracking system. For their requirement also we can develop what? Application specific integrated circuit. Those will be the specialized processor, meant for a special purpose, and microcontrollers we use for small applications, right? You got this difference? So all the microprocessors are ICs, all the microcontrollers are ICs, but all ICs are not microprocessors only. We may have small ICs for, say, for you in lab you use the ICs for gate, different gates you have ICs, right? 555 timer have you used in lab? 555 timer is one IC. All of them are ICs, integrated circuit. What are they? They are monolithic stones of semiconductors. What is monolithic? Mono means single, lithos means stone. On single stone we have developed the number of transistors. So IC technology is called as monolithic technology. You get it? Right? So these are specialized ICs where microprocessor and microcontrollers are developed. Its application is wide, speed is higher. Its applications are limited, specific to one target, right? So note down about this in introduction. Based on our discussion, you note down few points in your own language, right? Then I will dictate few things. Till then you pause it. So you just check first when Intel was founded, in which year? 1971. Okay, which was the first processor and how many bits? What was the number of processor? 4004. It was a 4-bit processor. Then which one came next? 480. Which year? 1972. It is 8008. How many bits? 8 bit. So now we will discuss what is meaning of this 4-bit and 8-bit. Nowadays we purchase the mobile phone or laptop. We check how many bits it is. How many bit laptop you use? 64 bits or 32 bits are. 32 is minimum nowadays. 64 is the advanced version. Which one is faster? 64 bit, right. This journey started from 4. Every number if you see multiplied by 2. 4 into 2, next is 8-bit processor. 8 into 2, next will be 16-bit processor. 16 into 2, 32-bit processor. 32 into 2, 64-bit processor. What is meaning of 60-bit processor? They process 64 bits in one cycle. So here we have the earlier processor. First one was only 4-bit. So it could process 4 bits in a single cycle. So suppose, for example, in 1 second, 4 bits are processed. Then there was the advanced version with 8 bit. So how much time it will take? If it is taking 1 second, he will take only 0.5. So what is happening? Speed is increasing. Time for processing is reducing. You are getting more data in less time. That is nothing but speed. So compared to this 4-bit, 8-bit, up to 64-bit, we have processors. So this journey started from 1971 with 4004 as the first processor. Okay, then 8-bit. After that, timeline. Anyone? What is next timeline in that? You can check the years. So what they did in that year? Next year is 1970. 8. What was done in 1978? 8086. 8086. How many bits? 16 bits. How many bits it is? Now this is what is intermediate level. We have 4 bit, then we have 8 bit, then we have 16 bit, 32 bit and 64 bit. 16 bit processor is in the middle of small range and higher range. We are going to study 8086. We are going to study 8086. If we understand the operation of 8086, we can understand the operation of other processors. The first version, then second version, third version, they will have few advancements, right? Few additional features will be added. So what is our task here? Our task is 8086. We will focus on 8086 processor. Is it clear? Right? Okay, pause it. So we will stop with this